everyone, InfiniteCaz here, and welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about something a little different, and that's the Snes. The Snes, or Super Nintendo Entertainment System, is Nintendo's second home console, and was released from 1990 to 1993, depending where you live. This 16-bit console is home to some of the most critically acclaimed games ever made, and many of them still hold up to this day. I decided to run through 5 games that you might want to play from the Snes if you haven't given them a shot already. These are all classics, and are all ones I have played, so if I don't mention one of your favourite games here, chances are I haven't played it enough to talk about. To play these games, I'm going to be using my Snes Classic, but if you don't have that, the software on the Switch is a good option, providing that you have an active Nintendo Switch online subscription. With that out of the way, please like and subscribe as it really helps me out, and let's get right into it. When Super Mario World released at the SNES's launch, it was met with critical and commercial acclaim. It was only natural that it would receive a sequel, but at first glance, Yoshi's Island seems like a strange follow-up. It's unlike any Mario game before, as this time you play as Yoshi, and have to carry baby Mario on your back, keeping him safe as you traverse various landscapes. At a first glance, the cutesy art style may throw you off, but don't be fooled into thinking it's going to be a gentle romp. The gameplay may be very different, but it's so fun and rewarding. You have your basic moves, run, jump, flutter jump, etc. You can also eat enemies and turn them into eggs, which in turn can be used to deal damage and make the pathway ahead slightly easier. The game itself is gorgeous and has a great soundtrack to complement the detailed and colourful visuals. The game really utilises all the power of the SNES to create detailed environments. The game is also filled with life, with enemies interacting with the world everywhere you look. The story is very simple. You take control of several Yoshis, and you traverse various landscapes to safely transport baby Mario back to where he belongs after an attack from Magikoopa. Something I love about this game is you take control of a new Yoshi every level, which adds some charm. All these subtle details in the world and levels make it a joy to play, combined with the silky smooth controls. The game can be hard, but it never feels too unfair, and the combined mechanics and level design mean that when you die, it's your fault. Yoshi's Island can be challenging, but compared to other games from the generation, it's a good step if you're not used to more brutal platformers from the 80s and 90s. The game is also a decent length compared to a lot of other 2D platformers, and I think it's worth your time to play through it all. Compared to newer Yoshi games, this one definitely stands the test of time and is just as, if not way better, than the games released over the decade after it. Moving on to another 2D platformer, Super Metroid released in 1994 and is still considered one of the greatest SNES games. No mean feat providing the console is home to so many incredible titles. It's the third game in the Metroid series and takes place on the planet Zabes, where you, Samus, must explore to retrieve a Metroid stolen by Ridley, the main antagonist. It's a very simple story, but Super Metroid shines due to its setting and gameplay. For a game released in 1994, the controls still hold up. Moving around feels great, and your suit has a selection of abilities, an example being the grappling beam, which helps you reach previously inaccessible areas. Your main weapon is simple to use, as due to the SNES controller you can only shoot in 3 directions. But the simplicity doesn't hold you back. The world is well split up, with a huge variety of rooms to explore. The graphics and sound are also spectacular. The music suits the game perfectly, with a slightly creepy score to fit into the foreboding atmosphere. The way the game creates the perfect atmosphere is also very impressive. Everywhere looks very similar, but there are subtle differences to make certain rooms stand out. The game also added a map to help people who may lose their way, which can happen easily. I would say the game is tough, but not too challenging. Like Yoshi's Island, deaths seem fair, and the game is designed fairly. Everything the game devs did still holds up today. It truly feels like a modern 16-bit platformer, not a game from the 1990s. This next entry is very interesting, specifically due to when it was released. Star Fox 2 was developed in the 90s for the Snes and was due to release in 1995. However, due to competition from Sony's PlayStation, they decided against releasing it, as it would make them look underpowered in comparison to the 32-bit games on the market. Star Fox 2 remained unreleased for 2 decades, but then with the release of the SNES Classic, Nintendo announced that they would be adding it as a bonus to the 20 games already present on the console. It's a good sequel to the classic Star Fox, as it uses the FX technology, which allows the game to simulate 3D environments very convincingly. Similar to the first Star Fox, you take control of the R-Wing, and your main mission is to continue the battle against Emperor Andros, who wants to take over the Lilat system. You have to defeat a number of enemies, but the gameplay is different, as there's a lot less restriction than the original game. You're more free to move around, and therefore you have much more control of your ship. This leads to a much more detailed game experience, and makes it feel like less of an arcade shooter and more of an adventure. Like the first game, the music is top notch, with a good mix of tracks that fit the atmosphere of the game. The only downside today is that the graphics don't hold up very well, but it's down to you whether it hinders your enjoyment of the game. If you haven't played Star Fox 2, I highly recommend it. It's an interesting piece of Nintendo history and a great game to boot. The Zelda games are known for their amazing quality, and the SNES installment of the series is no exception. A Link to the Past is an incredible 2D Zelda game, with beautiful graphics, music and gameplay. The story is what you may expect. You take control of Link and have to defeat Ganon to save Hyrule. But this time, Hyrule is much more detailed, as the 16-bit hardware of the SNES enabled the developers to do so much more with the series. Like the original Zelda, it has a top-down perspective, and uses many of the basic mechanics, but improves on them in so many ways. One of the biggest new features is that there is an alternate realm to travel to, known as the Dark World, which is a product of Ganon's corruption. Along with that, many new things were added to make the game easier to play and more in-depth, such as pieces of heart containers and multi-level dungeons. There isn't much to say here without spoiling the game, but I assure you that if you're a fan of Zelda, or adventure games in general, A Link to the Past is a no-brainer. Today, it's still a great game to play through, and if you have some time to spare, I highly recommend you give it a try. If somebody was to ask me what my favourite SNES game is, this game would be my answer. Super Mario RPG was the first game on my SNES Classic that truly engaged me. Released towards the end of the SNES's lifespan, this game could be seen as a predecessor to the Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi games, as it's a simple RPG with many familiar elements. The gameplay is split up into the overworld and battles, where your movesets change. In the overworld, you will travel from place to place, experience the story, and interact with the characters. You have a moveset similar to 2D Mario games, but the game is technically 3D. You can move in 4 directions, which today means nothing, but back in the 90s, having detailed overworld with a good moveset is very impressive. The format is best described as an isometric 3D platformer, as the SNES was not powerful enough to create true 3D spaces. However, I feel that this game holds up better than a lot of early 3D platformers, as the pixelated art style looks much nicer than the jumble of polygons from the N64 days. Not saying that the N64 has bad games, but what was cutting edge 20 years ago now looks very underwhelming, compared to the timeless 16-bit graphics of Super Mario RPG. Anyways, enough rambling, let's talk about the main meat of the game, the battle system. Similar to RPGs that came before and after it, you participate in turn-based battles with your moveset. There are a huge variety of moves and combinations that can help you, but compared to most JRPGs, it's very simple to pick up and master. The game is nowhere near as brutal as many RPGs, which is an advantage for sure. The game is also a good length, with a variety of worlds to explore and battle in. It feels a lot more in depth than most other SNES games, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much. It is also packed with charm, from NPC's dialogues to subtle details in the overworld. This game pushes the SNES to its limits, and is easily one of the most impressive games on the console. A must play if you haven't already. That's all for now, and thank you so much for watching. Are there any games you think should be on this list? Be sure to let me know. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe as it really helps me out, and I will see you all next time. Bye!